About 35 years ago, a wonderful textile and felt artist, Judith, invented her own unique way of making these beautiful, delicate roses. Now, Judith has given me her notes. Is it possible for me to use these notes and make a rose of my own? Will I get it right? The slow reveal. I'm taking the rose out of the stocking. Look how well it was attached to that stocking. That end of the rose is well and truly felted. See how fluffy it is? So felted. That part will be the part that is best felted at the moment. Here we go. It's a little bit like undoing a present. And here come the leaves, first of all. So you'll soon see why we're using the skewer. We take the skewer and just very, very gently with the sharp end of the skewer, so gentle. See how it's felted kind of a little bit, but not so that it's thick. What we're going to do next is going to continue the felting process. Now, as I pull this down with the skewer, you'll see that the second leaf is kind of connected to the first leaf. So I'll get my scissors and make a little cut there. The shapes are what you would call very organic with no straight lines, so cutting it seems an odd thing to do, but it isn't. I will massage each section with my fingers to maintain that organic look. Leaf-like, in fact. So you're starting to see how this is going to work. Everything is connected at the base. So we twist it a little bit more. And now we have a little bit of a leaf, but we also have it connected to the first petal. So I'm going to cut along the edge of the petal. It's connecting it to the leaf. And it's okay to have those little bits of red on the leaves. See how effective they are? And as red and green are complementary colours, that works really well. And there we have it. So we keep going. So that white colour I put in hasn't blended in completely. But when you're looking at the rose from a little bit of a distance, it does give the lightness. Now you can either roll your petals in or outwards. If you roll them in, the rough edges are kind of tucked very neatly inside. So it's a neater rose. So decide whether you want a neater rose and a very tidy one, or whether you'd like it to be a little bit loose. And this is not what the finished product looks like either, by the way. We've got a long way to go yet. So as we go down, I continue just pulling this down with the skewer. Very, very gently. Just trying to create each of the petals. And you may have noticed that the petals on the outside of the rose I made deeper in the original line. They've got more wool on them. And as we move into the center, see this one, I'm going to start tucking it in. So this row of petals can be tucked behind the outside one. See, I can tuck them one way, or I can tuck them inside like that. And you can start to see the darker reds on the inside there. And we just keep turning it and bringing it down I do hope you'll try one of these for yourself. Please subscribe if you like this video, and I hope you do. I'd really appreciate your support. Now, as I said, we're nowhere near done. We've got a lot of work to do yet. But you could do very little and it will still read as a very effective rose. And we are at the center. Now we've got to get the metal tube out. This can be tricky. Uh-oh, the lid's stuck inside. I think I'm going to have to use quite a bit of force to get this out. And I'm pulling and pulling. It's well connected inside there. Looks like I'm screwing up the rose, and I am, but the rose is quite safe. Quite safe. There we are. Done. Look at all that lovely darkness inside the rose. That's going to create our shadow. And you can see as well there's an awful lot of soap left in this. So now I'm just twirling to create those very inside petals of the rose. Lifting them up a little bit with my thumb and forefinger as we go, and then pulling the outside petals out so there's more room for the rose. See, it kind of evolves before your very eyes. Now we start to do some cutting because I made these petals way too big. Or either that or in the felting process they've joined up their edges. So I can stretch this because it is under felted. I can stretch it. So by stretching the middle of a petal, it makes that bit fatter. And just by very gently touching it with my fingers, I'm going to massage it and felt it a little bit more. The felting process has already begun, so it keeps going very easily and readily. So we just pull. So we can make quite a bit of difference to the size of a petal. And I'm just rolling those edges under. All those fluffy bits on the outside, later on I can trim those off if I want to. There's so much soap in this. When you make yours, please don't use so much soap. Using too much soap can actually hinder the felting process, because the wool fibres just slide past each other too easily instead of grabbing on. So there is the base of the rose. See how smooth that is? And there it is at this stage, starting to look like a rose. So I take the leaves and I start to just rub a little bit on the edges. Now, because this had so much soap in it, this is something weird I have never done before. Definitely gone off script. I decided to get rid of some of that soap. So I just got a bowl of water. Now this looks, after that very delicate process, it looks like this would be wrecking it. But it doesn't. Not a bit. Not at all. And now that I've got that water out, I hope you can see just how I've actually got some more soap here on these petals, but I'm just being very, very gentle. Think of it like washing a baby's skin. Hardly any pressure at all. Just very, very gently patting it, like you'd use if you were putting makeup on your face. Not rubbing hard, just rubbing gently, and you will feel the rose start to felt under your fingertips. This is sculpting in every way, in every sense of the term. You can make this rose as tight or as loose as you want it to be. And there's still a lot of soap in here. There's that lovely dark interior. I'm sure you can see now why I use some of the white wool and why I use some real darks in the centre. It does give us that three-dimensional sense of a rose with a dark interior. It's 38 degrees here in Australia today, so our roses are looking very pale on their outside petals, just like this, all bleached out from the sun. So you see, we just take our time and keep working on it. Just to give those leaves a little bit more substance, I've sort of twirled them together with my fingertips, and here we have a finished rose. See you next time.